Welcome to the Beet Goes On podcast. This one is a special one, even though I say that almost every time. This is my dear friend, Betsy, and I will let her tell you what she does.
I'm Betsy. I teach Pilates and been teaching for 19 years. I'm also a nutritionist, and I love to empower women through health and wellness, movement, and I like to see growth.
Yes, and that she does. So my personal experience with Betsy, I already knew her. I met her through a mutual friend of ours, Beth, and always just loved being around her. But last year I went through a lot of changes and intentionally. One thing is I signed up for that damn Dancing with the Stars. So I did something that was really harsh on my body. I learned pole. She took the pole classes with me, which was so fun. But also I took Pilates in between because it was so rough on my body. I learned I guess I made it to like a 2-year level in 5 months with no prior dance or any experience at all. No gym experience, nothing. I was a spaghetti noodle learning how to pole dance is the best way to explain it. So Pilates really helped me in between, but I'd also went separated from the person I was dating. Straight breakup. And so there was like a lot of emotional stuff, which actually I think is good to learn something when you're emotional. I think it helps with the healing process. And then I just full on I quit drinking for 60 days. I was learning something new. I was in therapy. I had a life coach. I was just going through it. And Pilates was really helpful. And I really enjoyed that hour and that time that I got to spend with you. And I realized how valuable she is, not only as a friend, but as how she connected the mindset with the Pilates. It really was therapeutic and healing for me. And to connect how your body, I was learning that in therapy while experiencing it and reading about it, but experiencing, why can't I say that? What the hell's wrong with me?
It's a hard word.
With Betsy on a weekly basis. So I started coming twice a week and sometimes would do a third just because it really did make a difference. So, I believe in Pilates more than ever now. I was never a huge yoga fan, but I did it because I wanted to stay flexible and limber because she knows I am not. I have the tightest hamstrings in the world.
Not in the world, but they are tight.
But they're pretty tight. But this is somebody who never took care. I never really loved yoga. I love yoga instructors. I love what they teach, but I never really loved a class setting. So I really enjoyed the privates and learning more about Pilates, and it's my thing. So that's what I want to talk about today. But we want to talk about manifestation and meditation and healing. So I'll let you.
Yeah. Oh, I think in that time you nailed it. You manifested through difficult circumstances, and you put all of these positive things in your life that put you in a direction that kind of set a trajectory of success for you that I think we can get overwhelmed by difficult circumstances. So I know I've been going through my own this year. And so we came up with this idea of the manifestation through difficult circumstances. And I'm looking forward to sharing it because I don't feel like it's been real clear for me until this time frame for me in this stage. I have manifested in my life. Of course, I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't, but doing it through a difficult journey and through difficult circumstances, I think is it takes a bit more focus. It takes a bit more concentration. It takes a lot more action, thoughtfulness and that kind of thing to really see where your life can go through
to get past the hurt and emotion and think positive.
Yes.
It's difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had to define it. What is manifestation? Because it's not something that you can touch. It's not something you could smell. It's not something you can really hear. It's something that you see in your mind. It's something that you desire in your heart. And to make that tangible, you have to put in a belief system. You have to see it. You have to believe it. You have to have action steps behind it to make it tangible. You have to kind of attract it,
Right.
And so I saw that in you, and it was very inspirational. And it's so odd how the universe works, brings people together, because you went through that, and then these last 5 months of my life, I've been going through very difficult circumstances with a separation and divorce. But I ended up breaking up manifestation into 5 different categories, which I thought we could talk about a little bit.
Yeah, I love that.
So first one for me was spiritual. Through the most difficult part of the circumstances, I felt this spiritual battle almost inside of me. And I know we've talked a lot about this because of our childhoods and the faith that we share. So for me, the spiritual manifestation was the most important step towards restoration.
Yeah. And I love that you did that was the first step.
Yeah. It was forgiveness, moving towards forgiveness of myself and for others, spending a lot of time in prayer, spending a lot of time reading versus watching mindless TV, not drinking, not doing bars, instead, spending alone time.
Not numbing, like going.
Exactly.
I think that's where we connected so much, as we were dealing with it head on instead of numbing it and dealing with it later, because it will always catch up with you.
It's easy to occupy your time.
Right. And fun is important too.
Absolutely.
I think you really like rushed the healing of this, and you're still healing, but like I would see one week and come back the next week, and I could see it on your face. I could see it on your skin, your eye, like everything was getting better and better. Cause at first I could feel your energy. It was heavy.
Yeah.
So I just was like, I'm just going to do whatever. I think I met her in the park and was like, we'll just sit here and eat cheese.
We did.
whatever you want, like whatever.
But you gave me that safe space to be in that place. It wasn't comfortable. It was not, pleasant. It was hard, and it was sad, and it was a grief. But you gave me that safe space. And I think that's important to surround yourself with people that give you that safe space. Yeah. And not
you
everybody.
And Missy, there were a slew of them when I was going through it a year and a half ago. Seems like yesterday. That when I was going through it, that I felt safe with.
Yeah.
And even close friends of mine that are like sisters to me, I had to break away. Now I've rekindled the relationship, but sometimes even the person that loves you the most just isn't safe for you in that moment.
There's sometimes,
which is
people,
okay.
That's okay.
They're no shame on any of my friends that I pulled away from. It's just, I knew what I needed. And it's also how great is that in life when you can get new people who show you a new way that's healing and helpful and safe.
Some people don't in that moment have the capacity to be there,
which is understandable.
And then, God brings someone else into your life that has that capacity. And that to me was, I felt so grateful. I felt so blessed, and I've gotten so many women in my life. I call them my women tribe now. Man, I mean, it's been amazing to have these kind of connections in my life that I didn't have before. So I'm eternally grateful for that. Right. There was also the mental health manifestation. A lot of circumstances can bring us down into a poor mental state. We all know that. We've experienced that.
In my younger years, I feel like I definitely affected my mental health in a negative way when I went through something. Like I've been through breakups and things like that before and dealt with it totally different, healthy ways. So excuse the sirens.
It's the city. So I think the most important thing, like we talked about safe space, is allowing yourself to go through those emotions and not trying to numb them, not trying to self-medicate them, not trying to just occupy your time through them, but allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to cry it out, allowing yourself to be okay with the anger. And then I think that's the only way we can move past it and through it.
Being okay with all the emotions because you're normal.
Yeah. It's normal. Yeah. And a lot of us are taught either by our childhoods or in some other way that the emotions aren't, they're not right. They're not good. They're not this. They're not that. They're there for a reason.
They really are good. It's good and we grow. We're different. I'm a whole different human, a whole different person than I was in my early 20s. Thank God. I'm a whole different person. So everyone doesn't deal with everything the same. You deal with things different than me. So you're totally right. Like, it's important to go through these emotions, learn about yourself, learn what you need, feel them. And then, you come out better.
Yeah.
Someone told me when I was going through it, and it really was a year. Like, even though I mended, like, I healed from the breakup, then it was like a whole different side of it. Like, I really went through it, and someone said, and I was emotional and I would react. I was reactive at times, and I was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's the way I felt. But I knew I was going through it and to come out better. And someone looked at me that's close to me and said, I think you're just going through the blender right now, and you're really on the brink of, yeah. They were like, I think you're just going to come out way better. And I was like, I thank you for saying that, because I feel crazy right now.
Well, a smoothie always tastes good.
Yeah, right? That's exactly. I was about to say, I just was coming out of a smoothie, but thank you for saying that, because I was like, maybe that's a little cheesy.
Smoothie. I love it. And it's healthy.
But, right? Like,
yeah.
You like it is. I just really liked what they said. Because it made me feel normal, and it made me feel positive about it. It was a positive spin and I wasn't I wasn't beating myself up. That little comment from that friend, it actually was now the boyfriend, but the ex-boyfriend who said it while we were broken up. He's like, I just think you're going to come out so much better on the other side of this. You're just growing, and I think you're just going through the blender. And I was like, what do you know? And then later on,
he knew,
right? I mean, he saw something that I didn't. At that particular time, I was being so hard on myself. I felt like I should have it figured out by then, because it did take me a little while. But I did. I came
those
out
are the
better.
expectations we put on ourselves, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. And those expectations. I continue to
journal. I continue to meditate. I continue to do my Pilates. Pilates was my, I quit doing pole after the thing.
I did a lot of pole.
I didn't quit. It is one of those things, if you don't do regularly, then it will beat you up every time when you start it again. Pilates is more peaceful, and it's almost like it's refreshing. Like, your body feels, I leave there feeling.
It's an internal shower.
It really is.
That's what Joe always said.
I love pole. I'll pick it up again. But sometimes it's just, it's hard.
You got to have a break. Yeah.
It's hard.
And that was the third one, was physical manifestation. It's easy to, especially if you have a victim mindset. Like, the beginning of this process of separation and divorce, I said to my friend, I said, I'm not going to be a victim. Was I in that mindset all the time? No, I was hurting. I was grieving. I had to go through it. But at the beginning, I remember telling her, I'm not going to be a victim. I am not going to be a victim. And I am not a victim now, but I did allow myself to go through it, and it was hard. And physical manifestation, if you don't keep your body up, it's hard to keep your mental health up. Yeah. It's hard to keep your spiritual health up.
It does go so hand in hand.
It does. Yeah. They go right with each other. So when I found myself in the hardest part of going through the process, if I just got into some exercise, a reformer, or went on a walk, or, did whatever, some yoga, whatever physical exercise suited my needs in that moment, those endorphins start flowing, and the mindset changes. You're much more positive afterwards, and then you can move on
and
with your day.
There's a true science behind it. It's not just us sitting around here talking.
Absolutely.
There's a true science.
There's neurotransmitters.
It's funny, I wasn't taught that as a kid at all. I wasn't taught any of that. I was taught to do this, and that, and your life will be okay. I mean, and there's
this one formula, but there isn't.
And I wasn't taught that, like, playing outside helped, not even as a kid, like, helps with my I never was taught any of that. I was the daughter of a single mother who didn't have a lot of time. She was working her butt off. So I get it. She was doing the best she could with what she had. And I know that now. I know that through therapy and through, because I was in the victim. My poor mother, I stayed in the victim mentality as a battered child. I used that as my excuse when I was a bad mother to my child, or what I considered a bad mother. Again, I was doing the best I could with what I knew.
Yeah.
Where no one's bad. It's like, there is no one formula. There is no one way to raise your family. And all of this goes hand in hand with that. Like, I teach my son that. In fact, I was having a conversation with him last night, because he's going through some stuff, and it sometimes can be like his mother used to be and be woe is me. And I'm like, that you learn that from me. Now I can address it and break that cycle because of this year of healing. So
there's never success. No, there's never going to be success with a victim mentality.
No. And it's never too late to re-raise your kids and show them a new way. Gavin's 23 next month. Like yours are 18 now. Like you can take an old mindset and teach your kid
Absolutely.
from it.
Absolutely. But not unless you learn it yourself.
Exactly.
And accomplish it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. I also have, this is a difficult one for me, one that I've watched you, and you have been a huge inspiration for me, is financial manifestation.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of the list. And it's a big one for women, especially single moms, or someone like me who spent the majority of her marriage in the home, working part-time, but mostly taking care of the home. So financial manifestation, you're going to be taking over this part of the conversation, but I think is so important for...
Well, that's why I love what I do with Beet Tan, because there's a lot of, I didn't have that, and I still struggle with it sometimes, but it is hard to believe that you can financially take care of yourself and that you can manifest that.
Very challenging. If you've never had
especially
financial
right now.
training. Yeah, I know.
Like it's an election year. There's inflation. Everything, like grocery shopping it's like, what in the world? Amanda went and bought trash bags from CVS the other day, and it was a box of trash bags for $18.
It's insane. It's
trash
insane.
bags, $18. So right now it's even harder than ever, but hey,
what is the biggest step you would say for someone who isn't financially there yet to manifest into financial independence?
I think that I just always pretended like I had to pretend. I think when I started to give myself the label and allow myself to give the label of CEO or business owner. Let's just say that. Because when I met you, I was a bartender, right? So it was really hard for me to identify or feel worthy of being a business owner. So I think what I struggled with first, that I still struggle with, that I have to wake up and sometimes write down and put on my mirror, is you are worthy.
I love that.
And I'll tell you a book. I could get teary-eyed even talking about it. There's 2 books by Jamie Kern Lima. One is called Believe It, and the other one is called Worthy. I actually have an extra copy. I'll give it to you.
I love it.
And those 2 books I've read several times. Sometimes I listen to them, and she's a Christian woman. And she has a podcast now. I aspire to motivate women the way that she did me. It wasn't just her. It was Jasmine Star. I just listened to Strong and Powerful Women on a regular basis. And I told myself I was worthy, and I stopped comparing myself. And it wasn't...
Comparison's a big one.
It wasn't about the amount of money. It was about feeling worthy that I have what it takes to earn it.
Yeah, I love it.
That's where I got my own way. And sometimes I would get my own way where I would be too competitive I'm more competitive with myself than anyone, but I would get my own way. Like I would be sassy to the wrong person. I've become way less sassy than I used to be. All my sassiness was insecurity. It wasn't, it wasn't that I really disliked someone or whatever. Sometimes I would be so intimidated by a woman in power that I would either shut down or I would become almost childish. So I caught myself doing that, I'd say like 10 years ago. And then and was like, you are no different from them. They are no better than you. And then somewhere along the line, I came across the book, Believe It by Jamie Kern Lima. I read pieces of it. I wasn't a big reader back then. Yeah. And then I still have it. I read the whole thing like 2 years ago. But I think realizing I'm worthy and making sure that I'm fueling, whether it's reading a book, listening to music, surrounding myself with people. I also started to accept when people would give me compliments. I would believe it. I'm telling you, it was like I was rubber. If you gave me a compliment, I would be like, what's their motive? Like I didn't believe that about myself. So I think that was my first step. And for whatever reason, and I didn't see it loud and clear. I wasn't like, I don't deserve that. I had to dig deep to realize that that's why I was so bad with money and wasn't making money. It was I was getting in my own way. I also was in the bar world, and I would exhaust myself and drink all night because it was the part of the culture, and it was okay.
Yeah.
So there was also a part of me that was getting in my own way because I wasn't in a healthy mental state to push forward as a business owner.
Those other part of the manifestations.
Which all went into worthiness.
Yes.
Like you do these
Yes.
things because you feel like you're not worthy. And I'm not saying that the bar world is an unhealthy way to be. Everything, too much of anything is a bad thing. I was doing too much of the wrong thing that was getting in the way of my dreams. So that's what I mean by that. Sometimes I feel like, because I glorify the service industry world we had a lady, Barbara Sloan, called Tipped. If you do a service, which you do, I highly recommend reading that book, because sometimes serving others, which you do in Pilates, makes you feel subconsciously lower, which can get in the way of financial manifestation for sure.
Sure. Yeah. I found that some of my manifestation for the financial part of it is simplifying, and just breaking it down to a really simple level. What do I need and what do I not need? And how can I take little steps into managing my own finances in a way that is going to bring me that independence that I crave? For me, it was an unhealthy codependency. And when a therapist recommended the book Codependent No More, and I got the book and I looked at the title, I was totally offended. And then I started reading it, and I thought,
more.
this was me.
Yeah.
This was me. And now I realize
And how many people do you think stay in unhappy marriages because of that codependency?
A lot.
Financial codependency.
A lot. Way more than probably should. And I'm a fan of marriage. I'm pro marriage all the way.
I do know that about you. I've never seen someone with such a healthy mindset about the divorce given a situation like this. Like, I'm very impressed with how, even when you're mad at him, you still will point out his strengths, and, you love being a wife.
And going back to step one, forgiveness.
Right.
Because that's the only thing that's going to see us through and keep us, it'll keep us a family.
Right.
Because we are a family. We'll always be a family. We have two beautiful sons. So I think the codependency, though, thing, I had to accept. I had to face it. And now I have to unravel that. Which is an interesting process, because it was 21 years of developing it.
Right.
Yeah. Now I am unwinding all of that, and I'm determined to. So I'm going to.
You are. I mean, she has a great clientele. You've built a beautiful, wonderful business, and that business and that community through your business has actually been helpful through this whole ordeal.
Yeah.
And she's also started spray tanning, which has brought on a little, a
little side hustle.
But it's the same community. So it's her Pilates community that are getting the spray tans. And I spoke about this on a previous podcast. Like, that's my favorite part, is watching how a little spray tan business can help people with financial independence, but also just like, to grow through. It's just fun to make women feel good, which is essentially what you're doing with Pilates. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's just an add-on to that that's making women feel good. So I think you're on the right track. I know you're on the right track with financial manifestation, but I think the other parts were just so heavy in your face. Like this,
you're
doing it already.
I was lost
you're doing it already.
This,
you just can't. You've been doing it already. It just was hard to see that you were capable of actually making a full-on living for yourself from it, which you totally are.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, the last part, when I broke the manifestations down into these categories, is quality of life. And, they all have to come together in a kind of a harmonious way, right? And synchronicity to have quality of life. Right. We have to be physically fit. We need to be mentally fit. We need to be spiritually fit, financially independent to have the quality of life that we want. And so, whether that means making the choice of not having that next glass of wine so that I feel better tomorrow, or am I going to eat something that's going to give me life versus take life away?
Yes. And that's something I struggle with big time from growing up in the South. I love me some fried chicken. It doesn't always make me feel good, but it's true. Something as simple and silly as that really does weigh heavy, and it all comes. This morning I didn't have breakfast and I had coffee, and I was being like cranky to Morgan. And then I was like, I didn't.
Because your blood sugar was low, or
simple things that we actually did learn as a kid, but we don't realize how it affects our
small decisions that make a big impact. Yeah. Am I going to work out or not today? Am I going to get sunshine today? Am I going to, do some quiet time with meditation and breath work? Am I going to write down my goals? Am I going to write on the mirror, I'm worthy? These are all these things that they're action steps behind the thoughts and the concept of manifestation, the desire that you want this thing in your life to be tangible.
Which is where quiet time is important.
It's so important.
You won't see it. I know I won't. I'm severely ADHD. And I know I won't notice it unless I spend, even if it's, one of my dear friends is, I know ADD, she actually is medicated for it. I can't do the medication. I'd have no skin on my bones and curbs my appetite. But,
yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that medicine either. but she was like, how do you do it? Because she noticed a lot of change when I started like actively telling people I was, meditating, and they noticed last year people noticed a big shift in my life and who I was as a person in a positive way. And she was like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just sit there and be quiet. And I breathe, breath. I never realized how important breath work is.
Yeah.
And I never realized that I don't breathe sometimes.
It's a lost art.
Yeah, it really is a lost art. And then just writing things down. And it wasn't always that. I will say, I get a little jealous of like the Gabrielle Bernsteins, because they just get these like visions. And even Ted, he gets like these visions and sees things, and I don't. But I learn a lot about myself. Like,
there's that comparing,
right.
And
but I did
it's hard to break that cycle.
Myself to that. But you know what? I've grown a lot, and my version of meditation is my version.
Exactly. So, my version is a moving meditation. Yeah, you can do it anywhere, anytime. But mine is more, I like to move while I meditate. So I do a flow, and it's quiet. I allow my mind and my body to be just very present. Try to cut out the noise, and it's hard to do, especially under difficult circumstances. Very difficult when you're it's like curveballs being thrown at you left and right. You can, this as a business owner.
The nervous system is really hard to like chill out. Sometimes I talk directly to my nervous system.
Yes, very good. You can put like 2 fingers in the back underneath this skull line and your top vertebra. You could put one there and then one here, and it just allows your body to go to that parasympathetic mode. Little tricks like that, tapping.
Oh, I love tapping. I learned tapping through my healing. I don't always tap, but I know when I need to tap. And it's when shit's hitting the fan.
Shit's hitting the fan. It's time to just, and maybe heart center. Yeah. So quiet time is so important.
It's so important.
It's so become such a beautiful part of my life.
And I think that's the center of a lot of, so just to start to wrap up everything that we talked about. So the number one was spiritual, which requires quiet time.
Exactly.
And then the number 2 was
mental health.
Mental health, which requires quiet time. And what was 3? Physical, which is still quiet time.
Yes.
And for me, like in Pilates, those moments where I'm doing the breath work and the movement, I get so much mentally from that as well. I come out of there better, lighter and better. And then number 4 was
financial.
Which Betsy thinks she's struggling with, but she's really not. She's on her way there. And it's just hard to see it. I will say, and as we wrap this up, I will say with the financial thing, it is hard because it is more of like a tangible thing, and it's not transactional. And I say this to my spray tan partners all the time, who they're like, I did all the work. I did the Google My Business. I did the, because we lay it all out for them, but it's not transactional. It's kind of weird when and where it shows up.
Yeah. And it is an organic
you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, all these people signed up and did this and did this because
I have this much in my account. Wow.
Yeah. And it isn't like, I don't care who it's not like all the musicians that get the contract signed, all the thing, it's all, no one talks about the years of work that led up to that. So, and
I stopped shopping so much, and now I have more money in my bank account.
I think
I have more time for tanning and side hustle.
Exactly. So I think what you're already doing such a good job of doing, and I think what I had to make myself is to enjoy the journey, no matter what, which thing you're manifesting.
Right.
Stop waiting on it and anticipating. Like, just enjoy the journey of getting there. And I think it comes whenever what you expected is not. I like when I'm pleasantly surprised of how it came about.
Yeah.
Like I'm very like, I want to see it. I want to see it. I've chilled out a lot in the last year because the results are so much better because I am just taking care of myself and enjoying the journey of getting there.
It's beautiful.
The financial one's the hardest one, though.
It's beautiful. Yeah, no, it definitely is. For some people, it is. Yeah. And then the last one is quality of life.
Yep.
Which, I feel like I have a good quality of life. Mm-hmm. Not everything is in order. I don't have all the ducks in the row. But like you said, it will happen.
It will.
As long as you're manifesting these things through your belief system and your action steps, all of these things come.
And you're doing a really good job of, you really are. She's done a lot of really cool things, and I can see where you're in the moment at the time. And I'm guilty of worrying about things. We are. But I came home last week and I was stressed out about 10 million things. And I sat in this house and was like, 10 years ago, I would have thought that I would never be in something this cute with all of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I just took a minute to be like, I really love this house.
Appreciation.
It's all mine. And I just was in the moment like,
it's beautiful.
This is a lot for a lot of people. And, you
gave yourself a moment of gratitude.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
And I'm proud of myself. And I think we all need to be proud of ourselves, no matter where you are in life and what your house is and what your car is and what your career is and what your family is or whatever. Everyone has some reason to be proud of themselves, and they should. And again, going back to quiet time and giving yourself gratitude and affirmations, it's all so important. I think that we should have Betsy back on. Here's why. I think that it's a journey. I think you're still in the beginning stages of it. And I think there's so much to offer to. I love how positive you are, and I love you're still in the healing process of, what you're going through, but it's been fun to watch the transition as far as how you've been so positive. A lot of times.
And honest.
Yes.
Brutally honest. And some of my friends like, okay, yeah, I just I just need to get this off my chest. Like, okay. Yes, you got to be really honest with yourself through these transitions and these stages, because life is going to throw them at you.
Yep.
And if you are not honest with yourself,
it's
not. It can be real ugly. But in the end, like the butterfly struggles in the cocoon is a beautiful creation afterwards.
Yes, it really is. Or the veggies and the fruit in the blender.
the smoothie.
It's all the same. You either come out a butterfly or a smoothie. I think that's like the best way to
That's great.
wrap this up. But I love Betsy. I love her dearly. If you're in Savannah, definitely Pilates has been great for my body, but it's also been great for my mind and my soul. It really, I mean that from the bottom of my heart, not just because she's my friend. We really truly weren't that close before. We were friends. We were mutual. We have a lot of mutual friends. I always had love for her, but she became somebody that was really there for me through a rough time. And I'm very happy to be that for you because you truly were. And Pilates was a small part of that. But I have stuck with the Pilates because it is so good for my mind, body, and soul. And I enjoy it. And she does privates and she caters to you and your needs. And it is very therapeutic. So I highly recommend. We'll put all of her information in the show notes.
I also do.
And she does spray tans in all Wilmington Island. So she does spray tan, beet tan.
And 2 Zen Pilates classes a week at the Hub,
at
Monday
the Hub.
and Wednesday
That's
nights.
Right.
And I also do bachelorette parties through Love Collective.
Yeah, she's busy. She's growing. She's growing that. We're manifesting that
That's right.
financial, that number 4.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love you.
I
Thank
love
you
you
for
too.
coming on here. And we'll have you
Thank you
on
for having
again.
me.
Of course.